What we'd like to do now is demonstrate some proper cutting techniques to keep in mind while you're utilizing your new 1064 X-Lays. What I'm going to do first is go ahead and select a procedure here on my start screen. In this case, let's select gingivectomy, which is selected right on the top. Press OK. And we have two gingivectomy settings. This is number 2. This is a little bit more powerful of a setting if you'd like to go quicker or you're cutting through maybe some more keratinized tissue or very fibrous tissue. This might be a very good setting. In this case, 5.9 watts, 900 microseconds on, and 300 microseconds off. Go ahead and get my fiber out of the holder, get the laser into ready mode, and let's review some cutting techniques. So the first technique we want you to keep in mind while you're using Unit X-Lays is to use very light contact. We want to avoid the SDD, or the scratch, drag, and dig technique. We want to keep in contact, but it's very light contact. The moment you begin to see the tissue stretch or flex or move at all, you need to realize that you're using too much pressure, back off, and be in very light contact. Remember, let the laser do the cutting, not the fiber itself. This particular cut of meat that we're practicing with, and if you feel so inclined, I highly recommend you maybe go home and practice the technique a little bit on a similar cut of meat. In this case, we're using pork, particularly because it's fibrous and not as easy to cut, which is good, and also because the pigmentation is somewhat similar to that of gingiva. So do, however, keep in mind that using something like this obviously is quite different from the oral cavity in that you do not have blood present. There's a lot less cooling, so the ability to char tissue here is a little bit easier. Also, this is particularly much more difficult to cut. So when we're practicing, it'll probably take a little bit more power to cut this tissue as efficiently as it would intraorally. So any setting I'm using here to practice with, I would probably bring down a little bit when I go intraoral with it. That said, again, keep in mind very light contact. I would begin firing my laser now and work my way towards the tissue. Once I make contact, then move laterally. And that's what we're looking for. You'll see very light plumes of smoke, and that's fine. You'll notice there's not very much charring, if any whatsoever. We do not want the tissue to char at all. We want to keep the incisions very nice and clean with very little dehydration on either end of the tissue. If I want to make a deeper incision, I would just go right over the same incision again. You do not need to get your depth in one pass. Don't be afraid of making several shorter, faster passes. Also, please note that I'm going from point A to point B in a single pass. We do not want to use, again, the scratch, drag, and dig technique of these short, choppy passes. We do not want to do that. We want to make a nice, fluid pass. You notice there's no charring at all. A little bit of white dehydration is perfectly fine, but that is exceptional. Again, lack of charring.